FSD is coming, but it seems to be pretty well misunderstood, at least by journalists, but often by others as well. I'd say the biggest confusion comes from people who have no first-hand experience with it and very outdated notions, but let's take a look at all that good stuff. I'm joined here by my buddy Randy Kirk from Randy Kirk's YouTube and other places. You can also find him on X. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So yeah, we've got being a Tesla self-driving tester sounds like the most stressful job ever.
Yes, it would remind me. I remember I often thought as a teenager when I saw the ads for people to test beds that would seem like a stressful job.
So, Randy, I know you're not employed by Tesla. Have you ever tested FSD?
I have.
You have? How stressful was it?
Depends.
Fair.
There are times. I have to admit that one of the most stressful things is testing it when your wife is better at it than you, meaning that she's driven many miles, with FSD, and you've driven only a few. And then she's never been a backseat driver under normal circumstances, but now she wants to tell you how to use FSD. That creates its own set of stress, you see. Yeah.
It would. If the job description listed, quote, must remove all sense of legal duty, moral ethics, and humanity as possibilities, would you apply? Hey, guys, don't put something in quotes if you're not quoting. That's not how that works. You can't just make up quotes. So that's pretty dumb. Self-driving vehicles are the future. If tech companies have their way, it'd be the only future. Ooh, ominous. Many of us live in reality, though. Do you the drive? Do you? Business Insider, so we found the source, and we'll get to them in a second, has revealed details of a specialized team of Tesla drivers dubbed Project Rodeo. This testing team is trained to push the limits of FSD and autopilot. What exactly is the limit? Crashing. But the rule of thumb seems to be get as close to colliding with something or someone. The scarier the situation, the better. Okay, again, seems. The rule of thumb seems to be.
Yeah.
So, great. How many crashes do you think this team has racked up?
I don't know. How many?
0 is the correct number.
0.
9 current and former Project Rodeo drivers and 3 autopilot engineers from California, Florida, and Texas were interviewed. Most asked to remain anonymous. Now, it doesn't mention in this article, but it does in the other. Before we get to it, what is your guess on how many names they're actually going to share with us out of the 9 people
that were anonymous? So maybe 2.
So you think they gave 2 names or withheld 2 names?
No, gave 2 names.
You're pretty close.
I'm close. Okay.
Yeah. So we want to know the data. On top of that, certain drives were used solely to train the software to recognize and adjust to vulnerable road users like pedestrians, cyclists, wheelchair users, etc.
Yes.
So so far not too weird, but let's go to the Business Insider. And again, if you see a trash bin and it's full of a juice, that, my friend, is bin cider. Do not drink it. It is just as bad for you as this. Tesla efforts pushing the limits. Let's see what we got here. Oh, since 2013, Elon's promised that it will help self-driving. And to get there, they've leaned on Project Rodeo. So the drivers, they said they sometimes have navigated perilous scenarios, particularly in terms of critical intervention. See, the idea is they say, do not intervene unless it's to avoid an accident.
So is this Project Rodeo, is this supposed to be an internal Tesla team?
Correct.
These were the ADA drivers that are over at Chuck Cook's Left Turn and such as that.
I don't know if it's those people, but it's certainly that department.
I see.
These are people whose job it is to spend all day driving.
I got it.
Binsider spoke with 9 current and former of them. The Tesla drivers worked on training, which, despite the product's names, require a licensed driver at the wheel. Oh, Binsider. 8 of the drivers described experiences that occurred over the past year, mostly between November and April. None of them had been involved in a crash. Not one. Goose egg. So how deadly and dangerous is this job?
Yeah.
I wonder. I don't wonder because the answers are right here. A former autopilot engineer told Business Insider that while testing is done on open roads, Tesla runs hundreds of simulations and sometimes test difficult scenarios on a closed course. That's great news, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tesla did not respond to a list of detailed questions about the... Come on. Of course they didn't. That department essentially does not exist, and you know that. You make it sound bad. That's like I saw one of those courtroom shows where an officer tried to say, when the suspect was taken into custody, he refused to answer our questions, which led me to believe he's guilty. And the judge was like, yeah, I'm going to have that stricken from the record because that's the law. That's not...
You mean if they were being honest, they could have said, typical of Tesla's non-existent PR department.
Yeah, that's what I wouldn't even include that. But if I did, if it's standard procedure to reach out with questions, I would have said, that. I would have said what you just said, Randy. Okay. So this article cites one person by name.
One.
It is
that was twice
one.
That was half as many, as I said.
Half as many.
Yes.
John Bernal, a former test driver and data analyst, said Bernal was terminated that year. He was fired for sharing videos on his YouTube channel that showed his personal Tesla malfunctioning while using FSD. So this isn't so much an insider as a disgruntled former employee and influencer. So that is the only name cited in the article.
Got it.
My training was to wait until the wheels touched the white line before I could slam on the brakes. He said sometimes he ended up in the middle of the intersection if the system didn't work correctly. Okay. I don't find this doesn't sound stressful to me.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't think it was. I don't think it would be stressful. I think about 9 months ago, 6 to 9 months ago, I recommended to all of the really serious drivers out there, the ones that were, being interviewed on my show, that had the latest edition of FSD, drive it around for a while as if it was a robocab or a cybercab. In other words, start thinking, instead of I want it to be more convenient or I'm a little nervous, think about it if you couldn't intervene, and then only intervene to save your life. And even when a few of those guys took me up on it, it was like the frequency, and this is months ago, the frequency of situations where they absolutely felt they had to intervene was very limited.
Very limited. I need these test drivers out there doing their test driving because a lot of people, myself included, will intervene not for safety reasons, but for personal preferences, for taste, which is crazy because, as you know, I famously have very little taste. Experts say public testing is crucial and can help identify issues. Missy Cummings, I'm going to stop right there. A former NHTSA administrator said that while practices vary, many autonomous vehicle companies likely employ tactics similar to Tesla's. In theory, they've gone through training, and eventually these cars need to be able to operate in the public domain. Yeah, there are very few rules around autonomous testing and a lot of dependency on self-reporting. Do we want more rules? Do you want a government agency who has little or no experience in an emerging field determining all the guidelines? What they can and should do is determine the outcome requirements and let each company figure out how to get there. And the requirements are don't crash. And it appears that they have not crashed. Now, this is scandalous. Are you ready for the big scandal? Uber and Lyft drivers use Teslas as makeshift robotaxis, raising safety concerns. Yeah, the software lets ride-hail drivers work longer hours, increasing their profit. Drivers report critical shortcomings, including sudden acceleration and braking. And on October 10th, it's set to unveil. So this is a little bit out of date.
Sudden acceleration.
October 4th. I've heard people say that.
Oh,
Light turns green, car took off a little faster than I would have liked it to.
okay.
And I have myself had experiences where light turns yellow. It's a little bit stale. Car thinks about it and then slams on the brakes in ways and then stops 15 feet short of the white line.
And I've never done that. In my whole driving career, I've never contemplated whether to go or not on a yellow and decided at the last minute to slam on my brakes. It's never happened.
I only have in the days of red light cameras because those do not have room for discretion. They are designed to make money, and they're very good at that.
Yes.
And they've been scrapped in a whole lot of places because while they reduced T-bone accidents from, say, 1 in a million to 1 in 3 million, they increased rear-ending accidents from, say, 1 in 100,000 to, say, 1 in 1,000. So the number of accidents went way up because people would just jam on the brakes. Yeah. Yoon, who posts YouTube videos under the banner Project Robotaxi, was in the driver's seat, hands off the wheel, when it entered an intersection in a suburban part of Las Vegas. The Tesla on FSD was going 46 and did not initially register an SUV crossing the road. At the last minute, he took control and turned the car into a deflected hit. So he did actually crash. Now, what this article is making out to be a big thing is Uber and Lyft drivers are using FSD. They'll pick up their fare, they'll enter the destination, and they'll just say, bing, bing, go. And away they go. It's still supervised, you guys. We know what the safety rates are. They're quite good. Randy, what is your take on all this?
So I have to admit, again, I only drive about 100 miles a month, if that, in a FSD situation because I just don't drive. My wife tells me she drives, every single day practically as she goes to work. It's great. It's fantastic. It's not giving you any trouble at all. But
what should we be worried about Uber and Lyft drivers using their medication off label like this?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I don't think it's off label. I think it's normal. It's like there's all kinds of different driver assist things that we've already had on vehicles. I was impressed. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I rented a car to drive back from Oklahoma to Los Angeles. And the vehicle, I forget what it was, some Chevy, big old massive car. It had, a thing that told me if I was going to change lanes inappropriately because there was somebody over there. It had my Volvo, which was a 2012, would actually stopped one time because I was going too fast towards my garage door as it was opening. And so this is a 2012 vehicle was already telling me that I needed to slow down as I approached my garage. So
to me, the double standard is you see so much criticism of Tesla alone and no criticism of the others. Toyota has an ad out I saw recently where it's got lane keep. And if it sees that you fell asleep, because I don't know if this was an ad or just a viral video, but the lady pretends to go to sleep and the car starts by pumping the brakes to try and wake you back up. Where's the outrage, Dan?
Yeah, I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough. I think it should squirt you in the face.
How hard is it? We already have windshield washer fluid. Just route it through the firewall, give you a quick squirt. But yeah, it'll make chimes. It'll try and wake you up. Why isn't there outrage? People are going to die. No, that's not how any of this works in the comments. What did we miss? What do we misunderstand? How deadly is this and how deeply, deeply concerned are you? Leave it. And then head over to Randy's channel and leave him a comment about how cool Brian is. Yeah, that's a great idea. And everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual, and stay tuned and juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots when you're awake behind the wheel, but not driving.